Coming to you live from the back line, this is Optimal Play. I'm Brandon.
I'm Jordan.
And it's a much-needed rematch in Gudnak.
I don't need this at all.
You don't. One of us needs it. This is the slightly lighter than some of its alternatives constructed deck fantasy card battling game played on a 3x3, at least in its kind of like most basic format, 3x3 grid on a review copy provided by Chaotic Great Games. And this is, as far as I remember, our first time playing it.
No, we've played 4 games. This is our 4th game.
This is our 4th game.
Right.
Yeah.
And we are 2 for 1. And we won't say who has 2 and who has 1.
No, yeah, it's not important.
It's not important.
and one of them is on YouTube already, and I have no memory of that one.
That's actually the only one that counts, and I won.
Damn it. All right.
But here we go. This one will count too.
Get my revenge this time.
So yeah, I'm quivering in my boots.
And so we are playing 2 factions that are different from the ones we played before.
Right.
I'm pulling this out to talk about which starter decks we're playing, because the game, if you were to buy Gudnak, it would come with 4 starter decks kind of like ready to go in little deck boxes. And those are what we used last time.
Right,
we played Refractory Mobility is what I was playing, and Delguan Tunnels is what you were playing.
Right.
We are playing the other 2 factions. You are on the Shardsworn, and I am on the Gloaming. But we switched. We went to the second starter decks in the rules, where you have to spend a little time swapping the cards out.
Yeah.
But we're going to try... You are on... Do you know the name of your deck?
Shardsworn... No, I don't.
Destruction.
Destruction?
Yeah. And I'm on Gloaming Haunting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're the like elven archers and stuff, and I am the undead, basically.
You know, actually, my faction has both elves and orcs in it.
It has orcs.
And I think that's what's funny is the previous one you played, all your stuff was elves. Mine's
Humans.
No. When we played this faction before,
when I played the Shardsworn,
right,
yeah.
in our practice game that wasn't filmed, all your heroes were like elves and stuff.
They are called the Shardsworn Alliance, so it does make sense that there would be multiple kind of mini factions or races within it.
This sort of construction of this faction is more orc than elf, I will say.
Interesting.
I think.
According to the 2 sentences about your faction, it says many disparate cultures and species have reached a tenuous peace, all settling around shards that provide them with magical warmth and power. So there you go. Yeah.
And you can see those in the art, which I will show you as we play.
Orcs and elves living together.
There you go.
Okay, so we already drew our opening hands and mulliganed, or at least I mulliganed.
Right, I decided not to this time. And randomly, you were the first player.
That's right. So let me do first player things, like take exactly 1 action after drawing a card.
Great.
I think I should probably just put something in on my battlefield, like this. Skeletal Soldier. It's a basic soldier unit, so it's 1 power and gets +1 against hunters. And that's it, your turn.
Okay, so I will do second player things, like drawing a card and then taking precisely 2 actions. And I think what I shall do is I will play an Ogre Brute right there.
2 power basic brute, okay.
2 power basic brute, and then on top of it I will play a 3 power basic brute.
Oof. That's a lot of brute.
It's 5 brute.
Yeah.
Some might say.
Okay, I will draw a card, and how tall can I build my soldier pile? Not 5 worth. Well, why don't I deploy a Spectral Hunter, which has armor piercing, so it's 2 power and gets +1 against brutes. So bring it on.
Okay.
And I'm not sure I want to stack my Skeletal Soldier. Is your brute just going to eat it?
I mean, that depends on whether you stack it.
Seems likely that it would. So I'm going to throw that soldier over here. Back to you.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh,
Did you draw a card?
I did draw a card.
Okay. Oh, do you want to change what you're doing?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, forget that. I want to... I want to play Collateral. It's a tactic that just says each player chooses and discards 2 cards. So we are each discarding 2. I'm going to discard a hunter and a soldier.
I'll discard a hunter and a soldier.
And you could imagine a world where me, as the faction that raises the dead a lot, doesn't feel as bad about that as you do. So that's the idea there.
That did seem worse for me. I'm with you. I am with you. I think what I will do here is I will play... Actually, you know what? As you predicted, I will move this forward, and I will play
that's scary.
A soldier 2.
You've really got me right where you want me. Because if I move my hunter up to threaten the brute, the soldier crushes it. Soldiers it. But into an adjacent square.
I also need to learn what a turn is. What is a turn? Is a turn you go and I go, or is a turn just I go?
I think it's just you go.
That makes sense, but I don't like it.
Because I think that if an effect, and the game does this sometimes, if an effect is meant to last a round of turns, it will say like until the start of your next turn.
That's true.
Something like that.
You're right.
Okay, I need to draw my card.
Can you play 0-cost tactical actions on someone else's turn?
You cannot. Good question, but no.
I would like to.
I'm already in hot water here. Unless...
Because even if I take this guy can then just, attack my brute. And I'll be sad.
You would be sad, which would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't I just do something else?
Okay.
I'm going to play my... Oh, that brute is going to... You were saying at the end of the game last time how colossal the 3s are, and how figuring out how to take out your opponent's 3s is so critical.
Yeah.
I'm not figuring it out.
It's tough. And like
really
I'm nervous about having on the same while you're worried about killing him, I'm like, oh man, I'm spending this guy pretty early in the game. Like I could have held on to him,
Yeah. Oh man.
Because I'm sure he won't last forever.
No, probably not. So I think I have to get out of his way. I think I have to let him into the gates.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm going to move my soldier here as my first action.
Yeah.
And then as my second action, I'm going to stack on top of it my Echoing Spectre. It's a hero with Reverberate. It has the icon that means when I play it, deploy target 1 from your graveyard to an adjacent empty square. So I'm going to go ahead and put this Spectre...
Oh, that's when you play it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm going to go ahead and put this Spectral Hunter here.
Okay, that is interesting. So it's
And
me?
Back to you.
Yeah. Okay, so let me draw a card before I get too carried away here. And now let me read this card. You'd think I would have read all my cards before, but nope.
Not even when you were like sleeving the new deck?
No, I didn't read this one.
Alright.
Yeah, I should have.
Meanwhile, I have completely internalized all 20 cards in my deck, and I'm playing around my odds of drawing each one individually.
Very good. That's,
totally what
honestly,
I'm doing.
that's excellent.
I'm also a pint into this strong tall can beer.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kill this hunter with my 3 brute.
I didn't expect you to do that.
Yeah. Well, you thought I would come here, but then I would just die.
Yeah, I mean, the who could resist the allure of the gates? You even would have been left with a unit there.
I know. But then that unit would have had to have killed this or died to it on the next turn.
Yeah, that's valid.
Actually, no, this would have died when attacking this, which does change the math a little bit.
You want to come in?
Nah. I mean, kind of, but I don't know what's right, but I'm not going to.
All right.
So I'm going to play this as my second action. It's just a 3-soldier basic guy.
Okay. It's probably time to just turn the brute to my side. I'm going to play... I'm going to draw a card.
Yep.
And then play the Dominating Wraith. This has the ability Possession. Deploy this fighter on top of any fighter that isn't in an opponent's gates, regardless of owner, trait, or position. Mm-hmm. So I am going to deploy this on top of your brute, and this is my stack now.
Right. So basically, I just can't use this until this.
Those units cease to exist for the purposes of game mechanics until this Dominating Wraith is destroyed, and then your brute will be back in action.
Right.
And so that is a new unit. So that's fatigued. I can't move it anywhere. And I'm low on cards. I might actually do the card draw thing here. Second action, as we know, is a responsible card gaming.
Right.
Okay, your turn.
So I'll draw this card, and we will look at it for a moment. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'll move up this soldier here.
Oh, I didn't even realize that's another 3?
Yeah.
Oof.
Both my 3s are out, which I don't know if that's good or not, but
Yeah.
we'll find out.
I don't feel good about it. All right.
That's only one action.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I will give you the choice if you want to just trade into my brute here.
Oh, why would I do that?
I don't know.
Huh. This is bad. I'm going to draw my card and it'll save me. It could save me. Jeez. This is really rough. Your brutes are just running amok. How do I stop your soldier from just devouring my hunter? Okay. I don't want to just trade into your brute, I don't think, but what's my plan B? Yeah, I mean, at some point I will draw my 3s and get back in this, but for now you having 2 of your 3s already is really overbearing, even though one of them is literally covered by my unit.
Yeah.
It can't even move away from your brute because it would be next to the even bigger soldier.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to you drawing your 3s.
No, and I'm wondering if I should be drawing...
me from milling until, while I'm in my advantaged period, so...
That's true. Yeah, you're not sieging me, which is something.
Right, you're holding your ground.
Okay. Let me just try to complicate your situation as much as I can, I guess.
Okay.
I'm going to play the Necromancer as my first action, which says Raise Dead, deploy a 1 from your graveyard to...
Well, this is an action, though.
Oh, that is an action. Thank you. I actually thought that was like some of my others comes into play abilities.
Right.
I'll still put it there.
Okay, so what does this do? Deploy.
Yeah, deploy a 1 from my graveyard to any empty square except the enemy's gates.
Interesting. Okay.
So I can really swarm you with all the units you're destroying coming back, ideally. And you have how many cards in hand?
2.
Sure, I'm going to play Persuasion tactic. Reveal target opponent's hand and choose a fighter. That opponent must use their next action to deploy that fighter if able.
Oh, yeah, fighter.
So I am choosing your... That's a really good name for a card. Demolition Experts.
Yeah.
They say unstable. After this fighter moves or is relocated, you may destroy it. If it's destroyed, destroy all 1s and 2s that were adjacent. Dear God. Well, I have to choose it, and you have to deploy it on the start of your next turn. So go ahead.
Alrighty. I will draw a card first. I will then deploy.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Could I just look at the tactic that was also in your hand that I didn't really grasp? Burnout. Gain an action for each of your cards that was destroyed or discarded this turn. Ooh. That sounds... Is that why you were asking if you could play a 0 out of turn?
When you discarded my 2 cards, I was like, I want to play a 0.
To gain actions in the middle
exactly.
of my turn
That's
would
what I was
be
hoping for, yeah.
insane, yeah.
Alright, so I will put this Demolitions Expert down as you have demanded I do.
I did, yeah.
And
I'm not actually thrilled about it.
I will kill this and move forward.
Okay. Sorry, Hunter. Alright, that soldier needs some dealing with. What's under it? Another soldier. And that's your turn, right?
That is my turn.
So I'll draw my card. Huh. Interesting. I don't... That's not gonna save me. I hate to do it. First action, I'm gonna draw.
Okay. Better than second action.
Yeah, for once I drew on my first action, right? It's a good card, but perhaps not good enough to get me out of this jam.
Yeah, what's the answer here?
I don't know. Your demolition experts are actually pretty tough for you to use as well, so...
Okay.
Right, like, because you move them up and then it's an act. Oh, no, it's not an action. It's after it
they
moves.
move.
Oh, no.
So right now it's go and blow up those two.
Oh. I really thought it was an action, so you'd have to move them into position and wait a turn.
No.
Well, I should probably occupy that space then, you would think.
It's up to you.
Damn. This is so brutal. I've got to move the Necromancer up as my second action. Your turn.
Interesting. Yeah, coming in here to siege doesn't feel great because it's like, you know, but it's not terrible either. I should probably just do it actually. Stop you. How many cards do you have in hand?
4.
4 is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 is a good number of cards. What does it say? Deploy target 1 from your graveyard on any empty square except an opponent's gate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll do. I will move this forward.
Yep.
And I think I'll just trade these two.
And you get your... Yeah. It's hardly a trade when it recovers your 3.
Yeah.
All right. I will mill...
Oh, you know what? I didn't draw a card first.
Oh, yep. Do that.
My turn. Let me just...
I will mill at the start of my turn.
Okay.
Oh, it was a 3!
It's brutal.
I needed that so badly!
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it only is going to cost you 5 cards over the course of 2 actions to create this gate spot. I don't know what to do. Yeah, that's brutal.
How many cards are in your hand?
Just 3.
Okay. I mean, probably I should just use my Necromancer and siege your gates and at least die, kind of tie that up. At least both be sieging.
That's a good point.
I also can get you out of my gates, but it's a short-term fix. It's a band-aid situation.
That's interesting.
Why don't I draw first?
Okay.
And yeah, I think I'll go ahead and attack your demolition experts
Bummer.
with the Necromancer, and then it's your turn, and you will mill since I'm sieging you.
I will.
This is a very different game flow than we've seen, where we're both sieging each other.
That's true.
And I don't even see either of us breaking the siege in like the next turn each, but show me what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I could move this down here, and then I would be positioned to break the siege.
Right.
Or I could just start attacking these cards here. Both seem like okay options.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do, though? What I will do is I'll move this one down here.
Okay.
And then I'll just use this to kill this one, at least, off the top, right?
Oh, yeah, the soldier attacks my Echoing Spectre. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will mill a card.
There you go.
Oh. You having your 3s early is so rough. And... None of these cards are all that helpful. I gotta take an action to draw a card. Huh. This is kind of good.
Okay.
I guess I'll just go ahead and deploy it. It is the Veiled Queen. a 1-power hero that says power behind the throne when... Oh no, that's an action! Shit, never mind.
Okay.
I take it back.
Okay.
I keep... and this is something that I think could have been better on this game, is the icons for the 3 types of effects.
Sure.
Like, are very similar to one another.
Right.
Like, one has an arrow pointing like this, which means it applies all the time. One has an arrow pointing down, which means it's when you play it. And then one has a plus, which means it's an action. But they all have that same diamond shape that they don't read very clearly from one another, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I think this pink is a little bit easier to read than this purple.
That's true. Yeah, maybe the darker colors are a little less readable too. Or maybe I'm an idiot. Could go any of those ways.
I don't think you're an idiot.
Oh, thanks. That's very sweet.
What can I say?
Alright, I probably just have to start defending. This is so painful. I am going to discard 3 cards to defeat your orc soldier, leaving another orc soldier, and it's your turn.
That's funny.
You have to mill one.
I do, so I will mill... Oh, and it's my 3 hero.
Oh, thank goodness.
Brutal.
Alright, I do want to know about your hero. Tell me about your 3 hero.
So it has a deploy ability called Lay Waste. Destroy target other friendly fighter, then destroy target enemy fighter with equal or less power. You may do this any number of times. So it's like immediately do as many trades as you want when you play it.
Ooh, they have to be adjacent though?
They don't. So
they
it's
don't.
just like...
Wow, the Shard Dragon. That's cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool,
very
really.
cool.
I am sad to see it go. Okay, so I will kill that with this move.
Mm-hmm.
Then the question is, I could just unmill your deck and get rid of that, but I think I'm happy to have you be milled one more time and then spend 2 cards to get rid of that if that's what you decide to do.
That makes sense.
So I think my second trick is going to be... I think I'm just going to draw a card.
What's in this stack? Okay, I'm going to mill a card.
Another 3.
Another
Your
3!
hero
My
now.
3 hero!
Brutal.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Malevolent Presence. Habitation. You may deploy or move this fighter underneath any other fighter.
That's cool.
Yeah. To be able to slip it beneath something in a stack would not be helpful in this situation, but is breaking a rule in a really cool way.
Yeah, I like that.
That when I read that, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, totally.
But it turns out you sieged it away, so.
Well, you know.
These thick stronghold tiles always make the decks look bigger than they are, but I'm down to 2 cards.
I've got 6 left.
That makes sense because I've done so many card draw actions. I think all I can do is deploy a Skeletal Soldier here. That's a basic that gets +1 against hunters.
Okay.
Alright, back to you.
You drew a card as your first action?
I guess I
milled
didn't. You're
so-
right. I still have an action left, and I think it is... Well, let me take that back and draw a card first.
Oh, sure.
Well... Yeah, I guess I'll deploy that one instead. It is another Skeletal Soldier, but it's a 3 instead of a 2. Let's get that down.
That's fair. Alright, I will draw a card.
Mm-hmm. How in the world am I coming back from this? I'm not sure I am.
This is pretty interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I guess I'll draw a card. And then
To mill my last card.
I will... Is that your last card?
Yep.
That's pretty brutal.
Yep.
That is brutal. You know what? I'm in the position where I think I can actually just draw this. We'll see what happens with that. I know.
Greedy.
It's pretty
All
greedy,
right.
but...
You siege away my last card, and then if you siege me again, you win. So I better attack with my Skeletal Soldier, and that will beat your Orc Soldier.
Right.
And move that in. And then for my second action, I am going to...
Oh, I should have just moved this forward, because you would have been forced to make that move anyway, and I could just kill you on its next move.
That would be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will just go ahead and deploy a 2 into a stack with that 1.
Interesting.
Back to you.
Okay. Alright. I will go ahead and... Oh, man, I don't even know if I'm really meant to play this card or not. It's a very expensive card to play.
Yeah. Did you draw a card for this turn?
I did not, thank you.
Mm-hmm. How many cards do you have left?
Now
okay, just 2 cards left until I can just snake a unit into your gates and win.
Right.
That's the plan.
That's right.
With my remaining cards, it's not a completely impossible plan. It's not a likely plan.
You're showing soldiers on both of these, which is interesting.
It's soldiers all the way down. A 3, a 2, and beneath that, a 1.
Yeah.
You could just, like, move it over here or something.
I could do that. All right, I'm going to do this just because it's fun, and I don't want to keep thinking.
Sure.
It's probably not
That's a good reason.
Choose an enemy fighter. Discard X cards from your hand.
Arcane Blast.
Right. So choose an enemy fighter. I'll pick this one.
Uh-huh.
I have to discard X cards from my hand where X is greater than 1. So 1 greater than the fighter's power. So I have to destroy.
So you're discarding 4 cards plus this 2-action tactic to get rid of my 3 soldier?
I am. 1.
Oof.
2. 3, 4. And then I'm going to play a 0-cost card, which is gain an action for each of your cards that was destroyed.
Oh no!
So I get 4,
Burnout.
I get 4
gives
actions.
you 4 actions.
Yeah. So I'm going to go 1. I'm going to go 2. This guy can be deployed in any unoccupied square except an opponent's gate.
Okay, and don't forget to tell us like the card name and stuff.
Sorry, this is Reckless Chimera. So it can be deployed in any unoccupied square except a gate. And when it goes down, it destroys all adjacent ones. So
okay, dodge that bullet.
So that's 2. That this card draw will be 3.
Oh my gosh.
And I will then play this as my 4. Put target fighter or stack that isn't in an opponent's gate into the owner's hand.
Unmarked trails. Okay.
Do these have abilities when they're?
No, they're just basics.
Do I even want to give you that flexibility? I guess I'd rather just play this down. So I'll just do that.
Okay. I think I'm pretty screwed.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah. It's funny as we were sleeving these decks, you were looking at that Arcane Blast card and it's like, I don't know why I would ever play this. It's so expensive. And then Burnout answers why you would ever play it.
Yeah, and I drew this in my opening hand, and then I was like, okay, these go together. But this one I didn't draw till much later. But I'm still not sure if it was worth it. Like, losing 4 cards for 4 actions that didn't really accomplish that much for me. It felt like kind of... Like, I could see this being really, really
having
good.
2 large units next to my empty gates, I'd say that accomplished something for you.
Yeah, you're probably right. I guess you're right.
I don't think I can... Yeah, I think this is checkmate. Because even if I move these in, like you can kill, trade with this and then kill the 1 and
or I probably just
advance.
kill this and then
however you do it. Yeah. So just for fun, I will play Fratricide. It's a 2-action tactic that destroys the lowest power fighter in a stack. I'm going to destroy your bottom.
It's fair.
Bottom ogre brew to that stack just to have killed something, and that's to my 2 actions. So it's your turn.
Yeah.
Man, remember when I won a game of this once?
I do remember that.
That was nice.
Although it was never filmed, so we'll never know.
So it never happened.
No, I'm just kidding.
If a tree falls in the forest and there were no cameras on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So how do you feel after these 2 games?
I mean, I'm still really enjoying them. This and we've been... And we said this off camera after our last game, but compared to our practice games where we really kind of went quiet and got in the tank and stuff, partly because we're on video and so it makes for a better YouTube video, we've played faster. And I think the game's just more fun that way. Like,
I think that's probably right.
I think that prioritizing making fast decisions, because even though, yes, I think what makes... My brain's all over the place here. I think what makes you want to slow down and think so hard is because every decision is so impactful.
Yeah.
Like, it is very easy to put down a unit and then not realize, like, oh, they're just going to kill it in advance and I threw the whole game.
Right.
But at the same time, when you are playing at this speed, it's like, we are 30, and there's some before we started and stuff, we were like less than 30 minutes into this filming, including talking up front and everything. So when it's a 20-minute game, I think that that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's more, I'm having more fun with it that way.
Sure.
And then even if, and like I think this may be a fair criticism of the game, like you drew all your threes early and mine came late where you had already used your threes to siege them away, and so it felt like I don't like to blame it's not that there are surely things I could have done differently, but I felt like luck of the draw got me some here. But when it's a 20-minute game, that doesn't bother me as much as when we're taking 60 minutes to play it. That feels worse.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So
it's better as a shorter game when card draw like comes into.
Yeah, so like this is kind of the, I don't know how to, like, if I teach other friends this, I don't know how to like communicate that. I mean, I guess it's just to say like, trust me, we'll have more fun if we play quickly, right? Because you never want that feeling of like, well, I felt rushed and so I made mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I definitely think that this shines as a 20-minute game a lot more than it did as a 60-minute game.
I think that's right. I wonder if there's a way to change the mill mechanic where, I mean, how it is makes perfect sense, but it could instead be draw a card, then
mill a card,
then discard a card.
Yeah.
Or draw a card, and then your opponent randomly picks a card to get discarded.
Sure.
Which will feel less bad if your threes are later in the deck, because there's a lower chance of them being discarded randomly.
It's true, yeah. And to be honest, I would have, like, it's more intuitive to me that you still draw a card and then get milled. Maybe it's just because I've played a lot of card games like this where you always draw a card at the start of your turn and can count on that. Or, but also because and we talked about this last time, how you also crushed me pretty well in our last video. But like this one, where both of our decks were empty, or do you have a card or two left? Did you pick up your deck there? I'm not sure actually.
I might have one card left, or I was empty.
Last time, even though you were in a dominant board position by the late game, our decks ran out at the same time, and that's because you're milling instead of drawing, so your deck runs out at the same pace. But it almost is more intuitive to me to get through the opponent's deck a little faster if you're spending more time sieging their gates.
Although that is kind of still happening, because in this game I did get through your deck faster. Yeah, and it was because you have to take.
Because I got forced to start taking draw actions. Yeah. There were a lot of factors there to why I lost, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would, and we were talking about. I think it was off camera that we were saying, like, let's do a third video in real life here. I think we'll be on a different day probably. Yeah. But let's do one more video, take the two factions that won from our first two videos, but deck build for them.
Yeah.
And like, I think I would deck build this differently. I have two tactics that are double action tactics, and I think it felt really bad when they were both in my hand. So based on this, small sample size. We've played this 4 times total, and at this point we rotated it, so we've each played each faction once, right? So no one even has like experience playing the same deck more than once. But I would probably consider a hard limit for decks that I build of one double action tactic, because they're hard to find times to play.
Interesting, yeah.
And just having so they're powerful. I mean, I had that fratricide that destroyed a 2 power fighter outright from the bottom of your stack, but and then I have it was the last card in my hand. See, these were what I was stuck with. Conversion, which destroys an enemy 1 that isn't in an opponent's gates, and then deploy a 1 from your graveyard to that square, even if there's an enemy fighter there. So if it destroys a 1 at the top of a stack, it's another way that I take over a stack.
Yeah.
Very powerful. But it's niche, right? You almost never had a 1 not in your gates, and then it takes 2 actions, which also there are times when it's like, if you play a 2 action tactic, you're gonna lose units because you didn't move or attack with those actions. Yeah. It's just so steep that I don't think I would put both of these into this deck.
I wonder if these are also in the color pie for the Gloaming, because I had an event in our first practice game or our second practice game that was spend 2. And then the first time you play it, it goes to the bottom of your deck. Then you have to redraw it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to pay 2 again to play it, and it lets you take any card from your discard pile and put it into your hand, which is a very powerful way to get 3s back.
You're right.
It costs 4 actions. It's so expensive. And so I just wonder if that's like a Gloaming thing.
I think there's something to that. And it's funny, in card game, like if you've watched our Arkham Horror card reviews, like we like to sit here and kind of like critique game design, essentially. We do the same thing sometimes in our Guards of Atlantis kind of card by card discussions. And to me, what's most intuitive in the design of a card game is to pair the actions that take, or the tactics that take a lot of actions with the cards that generate actions. But those seem to be in different factions. Like you're saying, they're not in this color, in the color pie of the Gloaming, in a way that I find a little baffling almost.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think that what they're going for is like, we are the slow lumbering undead, right? You had in our practice game, so in the other Gloaming starter deck, there's that undead horde that hits, it's a 1 that hits the board, and then it's an action with that to take all of the ones from your graveyard and make a stack of them underneath it, which is super cool, but it epitomizes, I think I even said at the time, like, oh, you're slowly clawing out of the graves.
Right.
Because you had to, it was 2 total actions, right? 1 to play it, 1 to activate its ability.
Right.
And you had to stick that 1 to the board for a turn.
Right, because
to even be able to do it. And you successfully did it.
Right.
But,
and it was really cool because it stood in the gate, and it was like a stack of 5 cards, and basically Brendan just had to attack it turn after turn for one of his actions.
Right.
Until he eventually cleared it out, and I was trying to win in the meantime.
So I think that that to me was a huge success of the like both the Raising Dead and the like slow lumbering zombie kind of feel. I'm not sure that the slow tactics that just do things like kill a unit from the bottom of a stack are a big win for me in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not necessarily the bottom. Like, Fratricide is not necessarily the bottom unit, but I think that card's just not great.
This one seems good though. Yeah.
It's fine for card games to have bad cards. They all have to, because you can't make balance. You can't make a card game. So I wouldn't. I think when and if I start deck building, I don't think that card will make it into many of my Gloaming decks. But
maybe there's a secret use for this that we're not seeing. I'm curious.
Yeah, and I mean, there's this Haunting deck, and with one of my a couple of, actually I wanted to look at my hero too, the Malevolent Presence. Something that occurred to me even after I read it when sleeving it, and then again after you milled it and we talked about it. It hadn't occurred to me that this says you may deploy or move this fighter underneath any other fighter, which means it can infiltrate your stacks. And then when I defeat the top unit of your stack, suddenly it's my stack.
That's fascinating.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And this Fratricide that is like messing with killing a unit that maybe is not the top of the stack feels like it's part of that theme, but it kind of isn't really. It didn't really have synergy with... It didn't have much synergy with the other things I was doing to take over stacks and stuff. So
I can imagine you slipping that under a card in my gate or something, and then fratriciding the card on top.
Right. Because it's a 3, my Malevolent Presence could go under a 2, and then I fratricide the 2. But then, I mean, all that I've... Unless it was
you save the moves, right?
Like, that's true. Yeah, I could deploy it out of place there. As far as... and it doesn't have to be a stack at the time, right? It can become a stack with Malevolent Presence. I was going to say, if all it was a 2, and you did that and then destroyed it, all you have accomplished is you have your 3 on the board now. It's not... It would have to have been a 2 at the top of a stack of other things to make that really splashy, right? Because then you also took over a stack.
Oh, doesn't this have to go at the very bottom of the stack?
No, it just says under any other fighter, which to me means you can slip it second in the stack.
Interesting.
I could be wrong. We... as we were practicing, we had some rules questions and found that there's a Gudnak card game database with like card by card FAQs that was really handy. So maybe this comments on that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. It's a sample size of 1. I can't conclude that like, I think maybe this is a worse deck than the others I've played. But I still had a good time.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I'm excited to deck build with it. And it seems like the deck building will be really fun because it will be A, really important choices, which is always fun for deck building, and B, not that many of them, which is also fun for deck building. Like, when you're building a 50-card deck, it can be a lot, but when you're building a 20-card deck, and like every choice is pretty significant.
Yeah, cool. And it's 5 heroes, 5 tactics, and the other 10 are basic, so you're almost only making 10 particularly impactful decisions.
Yeah, although I was noticing, like, this deck comes with 4 brutes, 4 soldiers, and only 2 hunters, a 1 and a 2. So like, it really weights itself towards certain like types in the rock paper scissors, which I think is strange and interesting.
I'm pretty sure that their other deck, it had 5 of its 10 basic cards were hunters.
So yeah, because that was a very hunter focused.
And that one had it had heroes that also synergized with all of your hunters and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, very.
So there
very
are
different.
still choices to be made in that realm. Yeah.
And I really appreciate how we're even just in this course that although there's one expansion or maybe 2 expansions sold together that add 2 more factions, but
do they add 2 more factions, or is it and cards for these factions?
I think it's 2 more factions and I'm guessing a small handful of cards for these. It seems like the main draw is the new factions.
Interesting. I mean, if it adds 1-3 for each faction, that's massive. Like one hero 3. Like, that's really cool.
I'm really impressed though, compared to core sets of this type of card game, that each of these 4 factions. And they have the starter decks to demonstrate it, but they have multiple really clear playstyles.
Yeah.
That yours, when you played the Gloaming off camera, it was all about raising the dead and making big stacks with your raised dead and stuff. And this one was about taking over your stacks, even though it didn't go according to plan all that often. It's really distinctly different in a very cool way.
Yeah, that's true. 2 cool and thematic motifs for that faction.
Yeah. So for this core set to have, even if you only play with the starter decks, to have 8 dramatically differently playing decks is really cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So, the Chaotic Great Games sent this to us as a review copy, but off camera, this is non-binding. Off camera, you said, I think I'm going to go out and buy this. And I said, I think I'm going to order the expansions.
Yeah.
So it's like great marketing to us too.
Right.
You sent us the core set.
Not only are we making the video, but we're going to spend more money. But yeah, no, because I think there's a lot of people I could play this with, including gamers who are like not super serious gamers, but who would like this style of game and would be able to play it in 20 minutes and would enjoy that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to Hawaii with family in a couple weeks, not to brag, but just to say that my younger brother, who is also an adult and now has kids, used to play Magic the Gathering and now just doesn't have the time or money, or he doesn't play it anymore. I'm excited to take this because it's a box that I could travel with and take this and play it with him because I think he will enjoy the constructed deck card combatness that he used to enjoy with Magic, but in a quick, less expensive, not collectible package. And
I'm going on a trip next week, and I'm going with my partner and also one couple friend of ours, and the guy in that couple is like the perfect target for this game. So I'm going to see if I can get it shipped very quickly. Probably not. I guess we'll see. But like it would be fun. I think he would like it. Like that's like the right type of game, and it's such a small little box too to like bring with you on a trip, which is cool.
If you can't get it in time, if our trips don't overlap, it's an option to borrow this copy. We can talk about that after camera.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, we're enjoying it. We're excited to play more.
As you could tell by the game ending, 15 minutes ago, and I was still talking about it. So, thank you again, Chaotic Great Games, for sharing this with us. We're having a lot of fun with it. Thank you for watching, and we'd appreciate it if you haven't liked the video or subscribe to the channel yet, please do. And Jordan is on the Game Brain podcast.
Check it out
regularly, which you can get anywhere podcasts are sold for free. With no advertisements.
Yeah, you don't. No advertisements, and we don't accept review copies.
Wow, just a true labor of love hobby.
True labor
project.
Of love.
That's cool. Yeah. We do accept review copies. Send them.
That's right. Yeah.
But believe me, the review copies that I get sent do not make up for the money and time that I spend.
No, of course not. It can't possibly, right?
Like, not even close.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like I bought a microphone for Game Brain for like the podcast, and I would, even if we did advertise, like I would never make that back. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, anyway.
Yep.
It's more for the fun of it than anything else.
The new camera that's up there, the monthly subscription for video editing software.
Leave a comment if you're finding the videos more clear with the new camera.
Oh yeah. It's still I'm not sold on how I've balanced its colors and stuff yet. So if this video, Gudnak's a very colorful game. The colors really pop. So if this was not a very colorful video, it's probably because I need to keep messing with the settings on the camera.
That's fair.
We will. We'll get it right.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone on long enough. That's a video. Our plan is to come back one more time at least and play Gudnak with constructed decks just to play around with that, and then I think I'm going to buy the expansions, so probably we'll play with those too.
Yeah, why not?
Damn it! All right, we're a Gudnak channel now.
All Gudnak all the time.
All right, we'll be back for all that, and until then, be optimal.